Welcome back to another edition of Fishing Stories with Hank. Say hi.
Hi.
So what we do with Fishing Stories with Hank is I let Hank pick a bait off of my wall of fame, and each one of these baits that are up here have specific memories and special meanings for me. And I tell Hank how they made it to the wall of fame. So Hank, let's pick a bait. This one?
No, right next one.
This one. All right. So this is just a beaten up old tube. Nothing special about it. You can see how chewed up it is. So this is just a special bait because it was kind of this was the first time I figured out Lake Champlain. You know, I had been there a couple of times prior and had mixed success. And finally, I think in my third attempt there, I kind of like discovered how to approach it. And a little tube like this was my go-to bait. You can just see, I mean, it just completely looks like I took sandpaper to it and roughed it up. You know, I figured out how the fish were setting up. Like, it's become one of my favorite lakes because of this specific bait. I think every time I've been there since then, I've had a really pretty decent finish. And, you know, this bait I caught, I want to say it was right around 18 pounds a day on. And just was a really cool bait, a really cool memory. You know, it's neat when you go to a body of water and you've struggled there and all of a sudden it just clicks. And that's what happened. And this was the bait I was throwing, caught a pile of fish. And now Lake Champlain's one of my favorite lakes we go to. Which one, Hank? Well, we already talked about that frog.
Good.
This one? All right, so this is an old shallow running fat wrap. One of my all-time favorite baits that I've ever owned. And it's got a ton of meaning. If you look at it, it's got hole marks for muskies and pike and dogfish, and it's been scraped up completely. And this is a cool bait for a couple of reasons. One, it was given to me by my dad. My dad loves these baits and has caught a ton of big bass on them. And I would throw it because this is what he would tell me to use. But I've got a really good story about this specific bait. My parents, who owned a lake house in northern Indiana, we went out fishing one night. I mean, when I say night, we were night fishing. And I lost what felt like a very big fish. He broke me off. And I was upset because I lost my only fat wrap. And the next day, I remember being in the house. My dad goes, "Hey, I'm going to go for a swim." It was a little lake, Lawrence Lake in Plymouth, Indiana, 60-acre lake. My dad would swim across the lake and come back for like a workout. Well, he comes back up. I remember sitting there eating lunch, and he's like, "I've got your fat wrap." I'm like, "What do you mean you've got my fat wrap?" I'm like, "You found it while you're swimming?" He goes, "No, I was swimming across the lake, and I ran into a guy who was fishing, and I just started talking to him while I was swimming." This is on the other side of the lake. And the guy goes, "Yeah, I haven't had much luck today, but I did find a 20-inch bass that had a bait in its mouth." And my dad's like, "Well, what kind of bait was it?" And the guy shows it to my dad, and it was my fat wrap from the night before. So the guy gave it back to my dad, and my dad swam back across the lake holding my fat wrap, hooks and everything, and I got it back. And I went on to catch a pile of more fish on this bait, including what was the Indiana state record dogfish or bowfin, but at the time I didn't realize it, so we let it go. And you know, I've since retired it. It's really starting to eat away at the bottom where the wood's falling apart. So it's been retired to my board. But this bait tried to get away and we got him back. So that's a special one. All right, Hank, what else you got?
I think that's a good story.
Is that a good story? This pack? So this is the first pack of Dirty Jigs Matt Steffen guppy heads that I ever got. This pack was given to me by the owner, Kurt, and it's the first signature series bait that I've actually had made and developed and had a big part in. And because of that, I have not used the hooks. I've put it on the board, and it's gone on to be a great bait for small swim baits. If you like throwing the power swimmer or a Kitech, this is the head you should be using. You know, it's currently now, it's been like on the Tackle Warehouse bestsellers list for, I'm gonna say 2+ years, basically ever since we came out with it. So it's probably been more like 3 years. People all over love this thing, catches a pile of fish. I've won a lot of money on this bait.
Still only one more.
One more?
And that's
Which one?
gonna be
This guy.
that's it.
So this is a old storm shortwort that I have since retired. This was given to me by my grandpa. It's a great bait, great fish catching bait. They're really tough to find. I have used it. One of the first tournaments I ever cashed a check in, I used this, and it was on Beaver Lake. It actually was, so my first professional level FLW event, I had this tied on, and it caught me 1 or 2 keeper fish during those course of that tournament. And I've retired it since then because it's got special meaning as to where I got it from, and it was the first professional check I ever got. It was a big part, so I've gone and retired it. It's a great fish catching bait if you can find them. All right, Hank, one more. Oh, we talked about him already. How about this one? Or at what actually is this bait? So this guy that's right down here, that Hank is pointing to, this whole case right here has special meaning. My wife Sara put this together. The first forest wood cup that I ever made, she put this little collage together, and it's awesome, but at the same time it makes me cringe because of this head and spook that's at the bottom. I finished 13th in the event, so it was a good event. But day 3 I went out and I had just caught a 5-pounder on it. I was just throwing top water. It was first thing in the morning. I had caught one early, like a 2-pounder. My next fish, I catch like a 5-pound class fish on it. I go a little bit further up and I lose one that's close to 4 pounds. I mean, I had him, fought him halfway to the boat. He jumped and got off, and I was upset about it. And I bring the bait in and I look at it, and the hook hanger pulled out of the bait. I didn't lose the fish. I lost the whole dang hook and the actual hook hanger out of the bait. So if you were to look at that one close, you can't see it because it's rolled around in the display case, but there is no hook hanger left. And I tied on another one onto that, which is this one up here. Same bait, everything. And then I went about another 100 yards and ended up losing 2 more good quality fish, like, 2-pound to 3-pound class fish. I should have come in that day with like a 16, 17 pound bag, which would have put me way up inside. I would have had a shot going into the final day. Instead, I think I ended up weighing like 3 fish that day, but I had a 1 hour period that like could have been career changing, and it didn't happen. And I look at that bait and it excites me because it was my first Forest Wood Cup, but at the same time, that big one that got away, I will never forget. And I'll never forget the feeling when I looked at my bait and saw the hook hanger had pulled out. I think that's only happened, I literally think I've only had that happen twice in my entire career. And the other time wasn't tournament fishing. It was just like fishing wherever. And I was using an old beaten up bait, you know, something where you almost expected it. But yeah, so it's a cool bait. It's been retired. It's not usable now anyways without the hook hanger. But it will live here and it'll kill me and make me smile at the same time. So this has been it. Another good episode of Fishing with Hank. Stories with Hank. What'd you think? Were they good ones?
Yeah.
He says they're good, so they got to be good. Like, subscribe. If you've got a good fishing story, let me know. Leave a comment, and hopefully we can get out one or two more fishing stories with Hank out of this board. Thanks, guys.